Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today I am doing the Book Club book tag. It was created by Melinda at a web of stories, and I was tagged by Caitlin at Bandy's Books. Now, this prompt is a bit of a choose your own adventure. There are two paths you can go on for this tag, and we shall see what it is. There are total or a maximum number of 6 prompts. Prompt number 1. Are you in or have you ever been in a book club? Are you in more than one book club? If you answer no to this, see the alternative questions below. I'll read them after this. But yes, I am in a book club. And for a while, I was in 2 book clubs. I joined a book club when I moved from Washington State to Virginia, and it was in my retirement community. And it was mostly retired ladies. And I was the only male there. And it was a pretty good book club. But then my wife joined a book club with her pickleball friends. And so I had a choice between attending a book club without my wife, or attending a book club with my wife, or trying to attend 2 different book clubs. I tried to attend both for about 2 months, and I just wanted to have more of my own reading choices, so I had to drop the book club without my wife. I try to be a good husband. Prompt number 2. What is your book club or clubs like? How many people are in it? How often do you meet? Does your club have a specific focus? Well, my club meets once a month in the evening, usually at the end of the month. Sometimes we meet at a restaurant. Sometimes we meet at the lodge for my community, and sometimes we meet in members' homes. It fluctuates a lot. During the summertime, we tend to meet at the lodge and eat outside on their patio. And sometimes we've been doing a lot more lately is meeting in people's homes. I kind of like the winter when it's colder out, and we go have dinner and discuss the book. That is a lot of fun. And how many people in it? Well, again, it's mostly retired ladies, not entirely. There are some members who are outside of the retirement community in the pickleball club. And there is at least one other husband who's attended once or twice. I'm usually the only man attending, but that's what it is. And usually, how many people? Anywhere from like 6 to 12. I think the most we ever had was like 18. And that was we were discussing A Gentleman in Moscow. Prompt number 3. What book generated the best book club discussion in your experience? I think that was A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles, because it is just a fascinating story of a man who participated in the Russian Revolution. And then, because he wrote a famous poem, the Communist Party decided not to kill him, but he had to live inside a hotel his whole life. And the story is his life, or a good part of his life after he was an adult, living in this hotel. And it's a little episodic because there's so much life to be lived, but there are recurring characters that occur that he meets in his youth, and he meets again over all his life. So that generated a lot of discussion because it's just a very atmospheric book. You can be there in this hotel in Moscow with him and live his life. Prompt number 4. Has your book club read a book that was great to read, but not great for conversation? Yes, that was just this last month. And that was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is a historical novel set in France during World War II. It starts off just before the war begins, you are introduced to two sisters. The younger sister is a bit of a rebel. She keeps getting kicked out of all of her schools that she's been signed to by her father because the father was a widower and really doesn't want to care for the younger daughter. The older daughter married her young sweetheart, like 17, and they live out in the countryside of France, and they have a daughter. So you have these two daughters, very different personalities. And what do when the war starts? They both take different paths. I'm going to just not give too much away, but the daughter that was kicked out of school a lot takes up with the resistance. She wants to defend France against the invading Germans. The older woman with a daughter just wants to hold her head down and survive because her husband was called up for service and went to the Maginot Line. That was the line that was supposed to defend France against Germany. It didn't. And she doesn't know what happened to him. And then there is the German characters. There is a German officer who is billeted with the woman with the daughter. And he is a decent German. He believes in Germany and he wants Germany to win, but he knows what the war is doing is wrong. And then there's a second German character who, again, thinks Germany should win and absolutely delights in the cruelty that he can inflict upon people with his power. So you have all those characters. There should have been a really riveting discussion because we discussed it a little. It's like, if you were in that situation, what path would you take? Would you take the path of the resistance, protecting your country against the invaders, or would you hold your head down and just try to survive? Another path we didn't discuss is, what if you're part of the invaders? Would you be the kind German says, well, my country is doing wrong, but it's my country and I have to defend it? Or would you delight in the cruelty? That's something that I was going to try to bring up, but I don't think the ladies in the club would really go for it. And part of the reason why I don't think this book generated a lot of discussion is because it could get into sensitive areas. A lot of the women in this group are, let's just say, belong to a religion that my wife and I do not belong to, and belong to a political party that my wife and I do not belong to. And we're friends, and there's this unspoken agreement is that you don't talk about certain subjects. And I think that sort of muted the conversation. I don't necessarily think the conversation had to go in those directions, but it made it harder to discuss the book, which is a shame because it's a pretty good book. Now, there's one part of the end of the book that I thought was a little too sentimental, but, otherwise it would have been a really good discussion in the right group. Prompt number 5. Is there a book you would like your book club to read and discuss? Yes. I actually recommended to the book group that I had to drop out of. That was Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. And this is a historical novel. It is set, was it 60s, I think, 60s or 70s in Texas, set in a very small town. And it is the story of a woman living out on her own. She has a husband, but the husband works in the oil fields and is gone a lot of the time. And then one day, a young Mexican girl shows up at her door. She has been raped, and her rapist appears at the door driving in his truck. And he's telling the woman, give me back my girlfriend. And she's going, no. So what happens is that this woman has to testify against the white rapist, who is the son of a wealthy man. And let's just say that the town in general is not really pleased with this woman making a fuss. The whole idea of the town is, well, white boy raped a Mexican girl, BFD. Well, this woman thought it was a big deal. And I have mentioned this book elsewhere when you had to talk about a strong woman character. Because in this other tag, when you mentioned strong woman characters, a couple other booktubers mentioned women warriors who were good at fighting swords and fighting off bad demons and monsters and so forth. That's one interpretation of being a strong woman. I took a different interpretation that this woman is strong because she stands up for what's right, even when there is pressure on her to do what's wrong. And I think that would just make a fascinating discussion. However, I might not suggest it for my group because I think it may be a topic that might not go over well with everyone. Anyway, Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore is a good book for people to pick up. Prompt number 5. Is there an author, dead or alive, you would like to have on a one-on-one discussion with to talk about their body of work? Oddly enough, one of the ladies who organized our current book group invited Kristen Hanna to our group in an email because apparently on her website she says she sometimes joins in on a phone conversation. Of course, she did not join in, so we do not know what she would have said, which I guess is sort of good because the conversation just fell flat. And I don't know who I'd invite. I guess I would invite Elizabeth Wetmore because I just mentioned that her book was very good. That's about it. I'm sort of hesitant to think about inviting authors to book groups to talk about their group. Maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't. I'd love to hear from someone who's tried it and has a really good story about that. And that's the end of the prompts. So I'm going to tag I'm going to tag 3 people for this. I am going to tag Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot because I know she has a book group. I'm going to tag Criminali because I know he has an in-person book group. And then I'm going to tag Micah Cummings. I don't know if he's in a book group or not. He might be. He's a rather young booktuber who reads a lot of nonfiction. So it'd be interesting to hear what he has to say. Now, because I did mention at the beginning that this is sort of a choose-your-own adventure, I'm just going to read off the prompts that from the people who are not part of a book group. I'm not going to try to answer them. Is there a reason why you are not in a book club, such as it isn't a format that appeals to you, there isn't one in your area, etc.? Prompt number 3, do you have some other avenue for discussing books? Do you have friends you buddy read with, or do you do all your reading, all your discussion on booktube? Prompt 4, is there a book that you would be willing to drop in on a book club to discuss? Prompt number 5, is there an author, dead or alive, you'd like to have on? Okay, that's the same question as prompt number 6 above. Well, anyway, thank you for watching and keep on reading.